the last time we talked about the wedding feast for Yeshua and his bride.
Mitede ke tapana ma pe so be shananda ma pe ite asana mi pue she ungi go he mite na manda bia se shuna ite me kume primo go me kume ma kripusi te hina go.
And of course the bride is the church. The church, the believers in the church.
Toda pe he ma bia se shkria kume primo pe hina ma be shana ma be sro ku te hina go ma lo pli pe ji chomrengo si te hina ma pe da pe ma sro pu si te hina go.
Would you play this is chapter 19, Revelation 19. Would you play verse 9?
Kunna pe mani da tedela tiama du shida ma puda.
Pero tani pu hiwana Rama kamo yenu kayada umehya tekulu da slimi pu ite du apwa ite henu ani bete sorry Pero tani pu hepona ngo ite hema chamara Allah ngo ma lakota wadang liat.
Now, this verse, which talks about the blessing of the marriage, what a blessing it would be to be there, this would lead us to believe that the marriage is going to happen during those 7 years when we are in heaven.
Ani da ba no pani da ma hida ma pe te kume na bia se shkria hebitere ne ba te sana ide blessing me them ne. The sorry shu ba te asana ahina ma be shana ma pe u da moku ba kinago.
But that does not seem to be the case.
Nada pe te ne nada ma ite chomre te shobu ba pe kripusi pe thama bia shkri ite akume primo akume ba hina ma asana pe te ne na ma te shobu ne pe u da moku pa pe te ne me go ma ni ne ma me na ma to.
We have a better idea of when the wedding feast will be when we remember the words of Yeshua in the Gospels.
Mitene ma bra te pe phap ta te me da ma lisa se ate asegune ma ai so ta te pe ko be shena ba asha ke bi te ke pa te da chomre ite amana bia she shukrina da ma be kripusi pe ko me ake ma pe ishi ba ke pa te na isu pe ko.
You remember before Yeshua went to the cross, he had the Passover meal with his apostles.
Ida pe to ma ne ma ba ite bia she shukri te me te a sabe pe ngi da hitu lo to akena ko he ba ara akena ma e hello plima ku je si te he ma da ma ku je mo a phu si te he na ko he na ba e si e o mo re shulu te hu na ko.
And when he had that meal with them, he said something very very important for us to remember.
So ba ma bia shukri na da ku je si te he ma au e o to lo ken ma bia shukri he te che da ba pe kripusing pe to mani go.
Would you play Luca chapter 22 and verse 18?
Kunna pe mani da Luca ma du ni shnia ma pu shetio.
Mete hero lahisi cha cha kunya ye da plihya de de chomra kuhya pache pake pa de phunu va o no ka pa piche ye to ha.
Now they shared the grape juice, the wine, but then Yeshua said, I will not drink wine, grape juice anymore until the kingdom comes.
Mena da peni ho mun na bia se screen na hina oda sha ke ba ke na mama speed ma so set ma o ko hamna da bia se screen ma hina na ra ite athu tho ne ma ve o pa ma speed ma so set to tu cha ma pe kripusi ite pe he o le se ba ma hi ku pa tu ai no.
So what did he mean? When will the kingdom come?
Mena ha da aheba adi Petit peki, mani petit peki ya nego. Petit peki, adi beda. Oma Turkey mane mena hada ahida ma aphe Turkey ahe ogasta da hikuba ma hiba keba tem go.
Your question there?
Yeah, I wanted to know what this word mean.
Oh.
Yeah. And it means my father's kingdom.
Well, remember we've been looking at the 7 years, and then Yeshua will come to defeat his enemies.
Mete da petomani akene ma da pete so bishana da man naso satana kuma da ite chomra chiria hikuba tabana go heba a chiria to ne ma da sheshuki akle kaseda hikuba tafu.
And in coming to earth, he will set up his kingdom where he will rule as king of the world for 1,000 years.
Mete da biasheshuki kale to da hikua ke da ma iklepo ka pikripusi na go heba akene ma biasheshuki akle da hikumite ne ma amitwa thega se ma da ite sana ma biasheshuki chomre thake ba go heda sana me bana ke thake guna ma biasheshuki ma thwa ke pikhidu ki thul ba the preda ite athwa ke pa ite nadri buja.
So he will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom comes, and so that is when the marriage feast happens at the beginning of the 1,000 years.
Mino ada pesingina mete biasheshuki na hinada o ma spita ma sosetana o pato o posha te pikripusi kale o kaseda hikupata hu he kena mino pe angula chamena ne ma da pesingina da biasheshuki ite akumena da pikripusi akepa na ma e oceanas ite sosesi she osine ma ba ite nasosata na thoa ke bana go he ba ite biasheshuki kale se na ma pikle ga ba.
Now at a wedding feast there are many guests.
Mena da pisinge go he da te ko me ake ne masana pe ko so si hibu pya si ma he ro ne ga.
Right, Jamie? Lots of guests. And who are going to be the guests at this wedding?
Mena hada pe te me ga me pe ma ji chomrengo si te pe kripu si te he ne ma pe lo place no pe te ko mena biashesh kru he mena hada pe te ne ma sana mo pe he o le crack pa pe.
The bride, of course, will be there. The bride is the group of believers that are the church.
Mitena mana pesinge na ma kume promo pe he prenuma angulo chama chu mana pe kripusi da sroku pusi de hinaga.
But there are other believers other than the church.
Nada u ji chomrengo sinma o pa go da o da sroku esima twa ma sroku puto de hisina o pa go.
And they will be guests at the wedding.
Mena da esima da asropu mato de ma da mana ji chomrengo si te he go mana esina ma da ma he o lepim ba te he.
So we can speculate that the other believers there as guests will be from probably 2 other groups.
Mena peteni me go heda ite kripus ite he na go esi ma da ma kripus ro ma to te si te he ne ma peteni ne ma esi kripu ma hote klote ne ma o te na mu go.
Now remember, during these 7 years there will be people who become believers, but they will be hunted down to be killed by the Antichrist, by the beast.
Mena pe to mani ra go heda ba jamna jiria hikupa na so satana ko kenema akepa na ma da hikupusti o in ne pata he go da esinema ite ajiga jomlangu pe mana mete esina jiga jomlangu esi twake kripusi ne ma ke misaluna o in ne pata he go.
But some will survive, and when Yeshua comes they will walk into the 1,000-year kingdom.
Na ite da esiji jamrengo si te he si kripus te he ma lapli ma sana to go he mina da esi safri pate he si ne ma mite biashe shri kle to da hi ko ke pan ne ma esi ma a he lega biashe shri mani ni ga.
But there are many other believers too.
Na kripus ira ro si ma opa.
What about all the believers from the past in the Old Testament?
Mina da peteni me ga da kripus si ma preji jamrengo si da ma ite asake ma ite lisa sa logo si te hinago.
So they will all probably be part of the guests.
Mena esi lopli nama mite sakatwa esi nama te dalisa lagune ma esi nama tna ke ahe kapa de biase shukri take kuba ko hemana ahe nama heaven stana kuba swasi be.
Imagine what a wonderful feast that will be.
Mena tni me ko hada pe e shi uba ke pa ne ma kuba sa da kripusi da lisa lagu be asana da batte khebette be ko he pe haplo mulu ne ma amune ne pe bate.
Well, let's read some more of chapter 19, Revelation 19. Would you play verse 11, 12, and 13?
Gunne na pe meninda tadela te amadu shida mapu sita shinni na sisio.
Okay, wamya che mokulu mo o the hora to see pe buku to o bini to do. Kia sidia to see it a preneur o elu muina chona ngo na mite to. Kia eat a preneur be a chiria u a care a chiria to prero a sasuna brother a fet hilu de he a messe ploro a fiana mikia tiane. Tero a glutia enya zonku glute lo ura oni a muit ploder a nelone the ro usengi the breto a nedia set the press sengi the bread cha chu to the a fiani di it puno a vilo plina sui ro chomrea ala no u elu mu puno.
Okay, so Yeshua will be coming to earth riding on a white horse.
Mena da pun ahi shopena ma ba tam abiase shukri amekle da hiko akepana ma aideni da ma tetisi abu nyekuga.
Now, we're going to stop right there for just a minute. Do you remember when Yeshua went to heaven?
Mana pe petene ke same ko da ba si to ma ba ve da le tu ma ma tu ma biase shukri amek the da mo kwa kenaga.
When he was on the Mount of Olives, called the Mount of Olives, and the apostles were there, and while they were looking at him, he ascended up into heaven.
Mena da ite petuma kene ma da biase shukri amek akte to da mo kwa kenama a oda ma shoku bo shoku asana a illumina ma ma luasana sosi ma spi asana ma asoso sinema pe no to ke hola va kenama ba me ka kenama na akupe sosi te hema ite asana ma upre iswa chomrengo si te hena go heda ame me thama biase shukri te ma ko.
When he was out of sight, the apostles just kept looking, and then two angels appeared.
Mena da biase shukri atheto da mo khuwa bada ke da ku abuche si the ma ame thache bluetooth go hemana ame thache to bate ma una me khodi go me ba ma biase shukri the mo ko he ba una me khodi no ha ame tha te ni phu sna.
And the angels said to the apostles that they said, "What are you standing there for looking? Yeshua is going to come back the same way that he left."
Mite bana ken mateni phu na hena ona si me the da mo ko mite da biase shukri ma the to da mo ko mana da na ke ba ma biase shukri asana da ma a jo the sena da mo ko ne ma da na ke ne ma ke le ka sena na ba.
And from an Old Testament prophecy, we also know he's not only going to come back physically, but he's also going to come back to the same spot, to the same place.
Thuma pesinge ko heda lisa la ku na mai sho hange tho pe go sana mite pesinge te chen ma da biase shukle to ga sa da makupa da hikupa hine mana na che te pesinge na ma akle da hiku akepa na ma akle uba ma te ma shoku bana to phuba ga.
He'll come down to the mount. He will come down and his foot will touch the Mount of Olives.
Mite na ma da biase shukre akle akene ma akle ukor le ake akabe le hiku to phun ma ba ma shoku ma da te da ma ko akene to phun ba ga.
The Mount of Olives was some kind of hill or something, some kind of hill where Yeshua would sometimes go.
for
It is. Oh, I think to pray. It is just east of. It's very near Jerusalem. It's just a short way east of Jerusalem.
ni da ma ite shoku pe he at phone ma ba at phone ma da bia shi kri a chanatiti mi te bishana a theda shoku ku chobe akhina ko he ba shoku at phone ma o da ma esi dokuma Jerusalem dogu kecha ko o phu belu be
I'm sure we don't have Zechariah.
I don't think so.
Right. So I'm going to just look at some. There's a verse from the prophet Zechariah.
To wada ite pe lisa o kala to mana Zechariah kuno ko mana ite prepare the prayer ma I hate to go Zechariah kuno.
And it is talking about when the Messiah will come to fight his enemies.
Mite da lisa lo ku od po ma prepare the prayer ma he I saw na ma bishana da tna ke bia se shukri ame ite shashi ksena ma at klinga ko he mana u bishana ma pe pislun ko.
It says his feet shall stand on the Mount of Olives, and something dramatic will happen when he touches the Mount of Olives.
Wada lisa kuno ma hina ba ake bia se shuri akleda ma he ko akena ba ma ba ake no ha akrabe ma shoku to phone ma sana he ko lop lisi na ma akabe pata chu he ko.
It says that when he touches down, it says that mountain will split. It will split open, and there will be a great valley created.
Mite ba ite ahi shopin ma hina ba bia se shukri akle to de ko akeba akena ha krabe ma shoku no pohu no ko ba krabe akena ma shoku ko no wa asana a peke ba ko asana peke na ma asana ato the sana huma to o sweeta ke ja hu no ko no ko o pedu ne.
Have we ever talked about what causes earthquakes?
No, I don't think so.
Probably not. Have we ever talked about tectonic plates?
No.
Probably not.
I don't even know how to say that.
In the earth, there are areas of the world where there are, let's say, cracks or separations of part of the crust of the earth.
Ma mete sisingi ba ma ite desana to purpo pe me thara ite TV ko sino ga da mete heku no ma pophe mete pophe mo ke mete sisingi ba jamre mi ba mana da be chana ma pe heku no ga da asana da pe heku aku no ga akigu no ma asana ite apophe ko pophe ka de ha ko asana na pe da heku aku no pe me thara to he mana aku no ma.
Now this is something that man was not aware of until they began to study the earth very carefully.
Mena da be chana da pe hikupusi pe singi la to go da me mete to pura ke da hikunu ma po pe mete ka mo ke mete no pe singi to mana da o tu a se ba ko da ma mete esi sana doctor si hina ko he a memere ne da mete hikuno a po pe to pura ke mete a memere ne ko a singi tu ne a singi ba be.
So these places in between where the plates come together, they are sometimes referred to as faults. I guess that word doesn't matter. But what happens is, every once in a while, these plates will rub against each other.
Mete asana da ma heku ma pe kabalo no he na akigu no ma asana atopo ma asana po pe ki go he ba po pe akin ma asana mete pe ete heku no ma alutri he au ho ma to alutri no asana to ke no ha da mete po pe akin ma alutri akin asana atopo no no ha ite atakrabilu go aku ka akin.
That is what causes earthquakes.
Mena da atakrabilu kene ma sana mete da ku da hiku ne ma akrabilu no ma krabe ki go he mana da mete pe hiku ma atotiki ne ma da sana pe da hiku aku pe hiku pusi ne ma asana pe kabe dulle hu no.
Now, if these plates move frequently, then it's just very small very small tremors or earthquakes.
Mena da pope autopona ma sana ona ku katiti ta krabe titi ne ma sana ata krabe ne ma ta kra ti liu tiki be ko hemen ne ma sana da pesing ina da khale wa pon ne ma esi krabe no titi ma hu da be shana ite he ku pope si ngo hena.
But if it doesn't happen for a long time, then when it does happen, it's a big earthquake.
Mena da to po ona ata krabe lu to aku ka nó ta tổ có hẹn bà tận nợ kê bà aku cả này mà sana mite aku cả nó ta khét nó ta khra bilu ta khư này mà sana ite ta khra tili lu to có hẹn ta khra du shi lu nó sana ite be me thara tv ku sin ko ba au to phone này mà asi he ku pamu du e ne ke sa e ne hin ko sin.
Now, if we an amount of olives, let's say we were in a helicopter, we're looking down on it, the crack is going to be across this way. And it's going to create a great valley in between.
Ni sana u ma da sra chada pon ma da tni me pyo da ma le bya ko he pyo da le bya ko no pe me kle le ba ma pyo da ma choku aku no ko he ba pe me kle khin ne ma ba bya she shukri akle to da ma choku khin ne ma choku no tme na ma po phe ke ba po phe na ma po phe ke cha me ne me na au ke cha na kya cha ko ba da ku ne ma abish assess na ma da ma lo na ba de au ta to da kle me ku no ko sana pu ma mi cha na.
Many times people talk about one great crack, one great fault in California.
Mina da o na ke hititi ba bishana na ma da hiku amanda ka balo ku no ha ate apope du ne ba de fote ne ma he ma na ma pe kula ke ba ma California kaleba na phone go.
And many times people sometimes jokingly say, I wonder if when a big earthquake comes, I wonder if California, some of it will fall into the ocean.
Mina da pura ke ahina go he ahina o ke ne tni me go ke ne tna ke hiku no ma at po pe du at hu ko yo ne ma ba California ka chana ne ma pe tni ne ma sana ahi sinya go he sana kina po pe ba California the po ne ma sana de take California no ma ta kla me ne ma ta ke lo jere de thaku bai tho odu ku bai ahina no.
This is what is important to us. There is a great crack, a great fault that they call it the Great Rift, and they say it made actually a valley, and it is huge. It goes from here in Syria down through Israel, down. Where is it? Oh yeah. Down through this part of the water here and along the African coast all the way down here.
Wow. Ba ite da mite da ite strasi te hin ko da ame ta te re da wa ka bo ku ma ame thon ma abo phe du lo te photin ko abo phe du lo ma da ma Israel thake ku no sana da bu sra EU chwa ne ban da phon ma te po phe du ba na cha ko da ku na.
There have been many earthquakes and changes down here.
Mena ba sra yu ban da phone ma chu ma hu da pe method da TV ku si be chana ite ma ite he ku na ku yo to ne he ku na po phe hin ma ba to ta in ne ban da phu ko.
But up here there hasn't been anything that's happened for a long time.
Muna da be chana da ma Israel ka cha ban da phone wa da he ku ku na ma abo phebate be ko hesana na bishana da ma ite atakra belu no ha athwano tato ko.
They have studied that crack for they have looked back many centuries, and they said that they found that the earthquakes happen about every 400 years.
Mina da ite te kusrasi te hino ga me ka khase ba bishana ma po pheba adudu bar pho adu labat pho no go ha me ka khase da na hina o to bunne na ma a isina singe go da bishana da ma ite khaliba da pho ma da isu khaliba da pho no ma azana he ko po phe na ma athwa be ite ta pho ke ba ga thwa be sana abe o cholu na leya we mi leya sana atwa to hu ne ma sana atwa no poto ba sana ko ko na le ya ba na ba ite hiku po pek sta poto hu ba
But much of that crack has not moved for 1,000 years.
muna da ba khali ba na pho na ma ate po phe na athu ne na ko he mana po phe thu no ma sana ite ba khali po no pho ne ma sana agu ka no to sana ta khabi no lu to no ma o na tri na so ri ko
So when it does happen, it's going to be huge.
mena ba ite mena pete ni mena ko ha da ba mete a ta khabi no to nya no ko he na tri na so ri tho ko ne ma te ni ma ka ta na ke ke ne ta khabi ku ka ta khabi ki ne ma sana u mai te bi o ba no to pho ne ma a sa pya lo cho pa ki
Scientists, by the way, if you want to read about this, you can just Google it. Just Google the Great Rift or the Great Rift Valley. It's this thing that goes all along Africa. And the scientists say that when this finally happens, it says that this whole edge of Africa will move away. And apparently there's going to be it's going to be ocean in between.
mena da ma ite azana ma u bebe ma u meme ma hiku aku no ko he da ka baloku akena ma mate kusrasi hina wa hina ke tana ke pa ba mete apa peda hiku aku no wa ba ate atune ne da ma Africa kun take ma Africa kun he tana ke ne ma ite apa per ko no aku ka ne ma sana atakrabelu ko no ko atakrabelu ne ma sana da ma asite ne ma te Africa ta klam meja na ko sana te thake sinama I at ulu ta phaga cho pa ko sana da nu sra shoda po ma ayu da po na he ta ka me ne ma I a cho to phaga cho pa sana okay pa ma te thake te kem ko
So great things have been happening in this area with earthquakes. They're waiting, they said, at any time for great things to happen here.
mena na da ona esime me ka khasa da na hina o to kunne ka hine ma da me te a po peno thune ne na ho da me tha tu shu ba ma da Africa thake ku be chana da ma hiku po peno ko ma na esina o po ve tna ba ve ko sana mi te ne ma te a po peno ha a chat to da ma do isu thake ku na he me ne ma tna ke ba ma da isu na ma a khabi no ma hiku po pe pa ko
The Mount of Olives is part of this great crack.
to ma da ma hiku shoku ma da bia shi kri akle uba nup to phone ma ba shoku ro ko ma o da ma po pe te khale te aplug no ko
So the scientists are waiting for the great earthquake. We believers are waiting for Yeshua to come down to the Mount of Olives.
ni mena ha da te kusra si te hina ma o po me tha ko he da ba esna atanina ba ite da isu athake ku ba kina ma kina hiku po phe ne ma a hima ma da hiku ku no a po phe no ha ta khabelu atani me ne ma na pingi ne ma pisingi ka ba da athake Israel ku no ma akhabi no ha hiku po phe ne ma bana kene ma bia se shikri kle to da ma ku ha pisingi kle to da hiku ha pisingi ba
Questions about that?
Chisile shudan ade jeje o ya na beshanana kina sisi singi tate po ne ma a hiluna sisi ma video ko mani me ke na the Great Rift